Welcome to a new market update in which we're going to discuss some news, as yesterday was quite a big day when it comes to news, in which we've seen Google showing some interest towards Bitcoin, in which we can advertise again on Google as it was banned previously, and also the SEC has said something about the Bitcoin ETF, which we'll be discussing first. After that, let's just look at the charts once again, as we can see that we've had a slight corrective move on the markets, which is just still normal and organic after a very big push from 29k to 42k. But before that, do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also do not forget to follow me on Twitter and like this update. And if you do not know yet, we have got our own educational platform and consultancy, which can be found in the link beneath the YouTube video in the description, where you can become a member and see our content. And also you can trade alongside me, in which I'm usually accumulating my positions, but in the past few days I've been taking profits, in which I'll be able to buy the dip again on altcoins. So what was the news from yesterday? We've seen that the SEC chairman, who is Gary Gensler, has done an interview, and some interesting outlook was getting from that interview, in which we see that he's very open towards blockchain and Bitcoin and crypto, as he sees that there is some serious future towards the adoption of crypto in general. But he is saying that if we want to adopt the cryptocurrency markets, we have to do that with regulation. And that is something that we have been seeing as a topic in the past few weeks already, in which Binance is killing down the derivative exchanges or the derivative trading platform in Europe. It's downgrading the amount of leverage that you can use, which are all steps towards regulation, towards acceptance, and maybe mass adoption of the cryptocurrency markets. And one of the ways to get mass adoption is either making the UI UX better, so people do not have any clue that they're using a blockchain platform, just like internet. In the beginning it was quite hard to use it, but after some time the bugs were fixed and people found it easier to use. So my parents, for instance, they will be using a blockchain app, but that is still coming. That's the first one. The second one is opening up the gates towards institutional investors, through which they are able to include Bitcoin and crypto into their portfolios. And the difficulties they have, and especially wealthier investors, is that they don't want to have Bitcoin or crypto as a physical holding in their portfolio. They don't want to go to Binance and buy Bitcoin. They can go to an OTC and buy Bitcoin, but the best for them is to have a financial instrument that is built on the underlying asset, which in this case is Bitcoin, through which they are able to have exposure towards the markets, but they are having exposure towards a very liquid asset, which is usually an ETF, and they can easily sell that position if they want to. So through doing that, they decrease the amount of spread they have when they start selling the position. And that is why an ETF is super important to have, because it opens the gates to mutual funds, but also towards the institutional investors in general. It is a huge topic. I've seen it since 2017. Still no acceptance of an ETF yet, but it's good to see that the chairman, Gary Gensler, is saying, hey, I want to have a Bitcoin exchange traded fund, but only if we have some serious rules towards that point of view. And he also said, given these important protections, I look forward to the staff's review of such filings, particularly if those are limited to these CME traded Bitcoin futures, in which he opened towards the Bitcoin futures which are offered by the CME group, and they have been the actual top of 2017, so it would be crazy if we get a top when the ETF launches. But he is overall saying in the past update from yesterday that he wants to have the ETF, but we just don't have enough investor protection in crypto. He said it's more like the Wild West. And you know that I've addressed that topic sometimes already, in which rug pulls are there still, but especially exchanges are not doing enough towards the customers. They are pushing their clients towards derivatives and leverage, in which regulation really has to kill that and make it a broad market where you can just trade normally, just like the regular markets are the same. So this is a good step forward. We also saw that Google is opening up ads again for Bitcoin, which is also a good step forward, especially if you have a company in this space. Then you're able to use ads again on Google. All good steps forward towards the next phase of the markets. And what valuation do we have right now in the markets? Well, let's get to the stock to flow deflection model. Now, I've been tweeting it out a little bit. If you're an investor in Bitcoin, then this is probably a way to value Bitcoin in terms of the stock to flow model. So you're looking at the valuation of Bitcoin, of the current Bitcoin price in the SF model. So green and the lower levels that we're currently acting means it's undervalued according to the SF model. And at every top you can see that the valuation is significantly high and probably overvalued according to the SF model. You could argue that the stock to flow model is lagging and is not valid anymore as we have the lengthening cycles, but it's a good indicator to see whether the valuation of Bitcoin is low, normal, or high. And at this stage, especially given the sentiment in the past few weeks, like 2 weeks ago we had that crash to 29k and people were ultra bearish while the stock to flow model was at an all-time low in the past 10 years, while people were expecting Bitcoin to go to 20k. That is a good moment to start getting into the markets. So the case of what we just discussed with the ETF and opening up towards institutional investors, they look at levels or valuations like those models. They look at data. And what you can derive from a model like this is that you can say, hey, okay, we've just had a harsh correction of 2 to 3 months in which the markets have dropped 50%, but also altcoins have been dropping 80 to 90%. Is it a good moment to start investing in Bitcoin? And if you follow the stock to flow model, or if you're looking at a valuation through on-chain analysis, then this is a good signal to start investing. Then this is probably a case where we are standing somewhere in the phase of 2016, 2017, in which we just had a harsh correction and we are still in a bull cycle, because every bull cycle is longer than the previous one and also longer than the bear cycle. So if you're an investor, then this is still a good moment to start investing into Bitcoin. When we look at the short-term levels, we can see that we've had a rush towards 42k. And if you remember correctly, in the past few days, especially in the weekend, I was discussing the price action of Bitcoin at this stage. And we discussed, hey, potentially we might be getting a fake out during the weekend and then we drop back into the range until the market finds support again. Well, we've seen this breakout towards 42k. We couldn't break further upwards, through which we can see that we had a fake out. Price dropped back into the range, bounced from 38 high as that was support, rejected at 40.4, and now we're consolidating or going further down the line. Is that a bad case? Short term? Definitely not. It's granting you opportunities to get into the markets again, and probably when we get into the range of 35k, if we get there between 35 to 36, people will become bearish once again. But all in all, the market is seeking for a higher low after a new higher high. The trend has most likely shifted, and if we are going to hold above 34.7 or at least this range, we are creating a new higher high, and by doing that we are able, not the GAN-FAN, I'm looking at FIB extension, we are able to target 50k and 64k next in the next impulse wave. So right now we are looking at a structure that is actually following this path, in which we are looking at a corrective move, and I'm only getting interested when we get to 36.7 or 35.7 or at least 34.5. This entire range, as I marked here, is the point of interest that I have. If we do get a bounce up, which could be happening I'm not interested if we reject at 39k, as I discussed yesterday. Then we're probably just going to have another lower high and then continuation in what we're going to create lower lows. But it's showing that we probably have shifted the trend, and if Bitcoin is making that higher low, it triggers a grind further upwards. So then it's very likely that we're going to expect a potential grind for months towards the all-time high, in which altcoins will be doing really well. So conclusion of this update is the ETF is most likely going to come. Institutional investors are most likely going to jump into the markets. Bitcoin is correcting towards the higher low, towards a level between 35 to 36.5k. We are still in a super cycle, and based on the stock to flow deflection model, this is a great moment to start investing into Bitcoin. If you want to look for trades, you're looking at those levels. If you want to invest in Bitcoin, this is still the time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow.